actually starts recording, because that is a bit I really enjoy while I'm editing this afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
That's
to
always fun.
to see. Oh, and now it's recording. Okay, because it's always like 4 or 5 seconds where it's like, yeah, the recording is starting, but it hasn't started yet, and then it's all the audio and video is always there anyway. Anyway, hello everybody. Welcome to episode 4. What's in the box for with this gentleman right over here, Rick Wiener. My name is Mark Rowlands. And, we've had some stuff to talk about so far during the MLB lockout, and then things just sort of hit a real lull now that we did our Hall of Fame ballots last week. But we do have something that we're going to discuss tonight. It's going to be our favorite moments from the MLB season this year. I've got 3 that I want to talk about. Rick, I'm sure you have around 3 or so.
Yeah, I've got a couple.
Yeah. But before we get to that, Kyle Seeger retired. He announced his retirement via his wife's Twitter account, which is always an interesting way to go about things. But Kyle Seeger was a really good ball player, and he just had career highs in home runs and RBIs this past season. I know you wanted him on the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, my dream scenario was the Yankees to sign the Seeger brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Get Kyle Seeger to play third, you sign Corey to play short, and then you figure out what to do with everyone else. But alas, that's not. We knew that wasn't happening once he signed that mega deal in Texas.
Yeah.
And now that Kyle's retired, there's no chance of even half of that dream. So thank you, 2021. Just another way that you've shit all over my dreams.
That's happened to plenty of people in plenty of ways in this hellscape that has been the last 2 years.
Yep.
But, I mean, yeah, this guy was a hell of a ball player. I also didn't realize that he made his debut in 2011. If you would have asked me before checking out his baseball reference page, like when he announced his retirement, I would have said he came up like 06, 07.
Yeah, it feels like he's been around way longer than he has, right?
Yeah, I was like, this guy's been around forever. I mean, I was thinking, yeah, he's 38 years old, and he came up in 06, and he's calling
Yeah,
it
exactly.
career.
And then you're like, wait, he's only 33? Like,
Yeah.
A couple years for sure that he would have been, like, probably above average.
Yeah, like I said, he had 35 home runs with 101 RBIs this year, both career highs. His OPS plus was right at league average. It was 100. But at the same time, like, he was a really good defender, like, just really underrated ball player. And it means now that I'm assuming he hasn't officially retired yet, but it looks like Felix Hernandez and Kyle Seeger will both have played their official entire career with Seattle. I know King Felix had a couple of spring training stints with the Braves and the Orioles, but never pitched in the regular season for either of them. So they'll both have spent their entire career in Seattle, and neither of them have ever appeared in a playoff game.
Yeah, I mean, that's a shame. You're talking about, one of the best pitchers of his generation and the King.
Mm-hmm.
And just like you said, just an all-around, like I tweeted out when the news broke, like, he's a ball player's ball player.
Yep.
And take that for whatever you want to take that for. Like, read into it however you want. But to me, like, if I was a ball player, Kyle Seeger's the dude I want in the locker next to me.
Yeah.
That's just it. And, like, for him and Felix to never have tasted the postseason, you can't help, whether you like the Mariners or not, like, you can't help but feel bad for those guys. I mean, that's what they play for. Just a shot at it. They didn't even get it.
Yeah, and I hope, and I'm sure this will happen because teams do this all the time now, if he even just gets like the special assistant to the GM thing, just to keep him in the organization for the next few years, because I think the Mariners are pretty close to being good. So, I think they'll be making the playoffs again in the next 2-3 years.
They better after they just gave Robbie Ray all that money.
Yeah. But I hope he sticks around with the organization and gets to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Same with King Felix if he wants to go that route. I said, he hasn't officially retired, but
yeah, for sure. I mean, with King Felix, it's probably easier to picture him not with the organization just because he hasn't been for a while.
Yeah.
More than it is Seeger, who's a lifer. But
mm-hmm.
I mean, if I'm Seeger, I'm taking at least a year off. I'm just going to hang out.
Yeah, and that's why I said one of those like special advisor to the GM or something, because they don't do anything.
Yeah,
That's just the job you give a
even
former
if it's
player.
just like, hey, why don't you come to spring training
Yeah,
and just hang out?
yeah, they'll give him the like the Red Sox gave Veritek that job a few years ago. Now
Yeah,
he
like just
actually
come
does
down a
stuff
couple
with
days a week, hang out, and
yeah,
then go home.
yeah, like Veritek's actually with the organization now, but for a while he had some strange title that didn't matter, and he would just show up every once in a while in spring training, and then
Right.
like sit in the front office box with Ben Charrington or Dave Dombrowski, whoever it was that gave him that job. You know, just sit up there every once in a while. I was like, oh, Tech is at the game, nice. But yeah, I hope he sticks around. Yeah, even after taking a year off, because no one deserves to get that feeling in Seattle quite like he does. I mean, seriously, it, you look at the great Mariners players, and I think he's seventh in team history in WAR, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And you had Edgar who stayed the entire time, but Griffey left. Randy Johnson had his best years elsewhere. Like Ichiro even ended up leaving. I know they traded him to the Yankees, but outside of that last year he spent in Seattle, like it was, oh yeah, I'm going to sign with Miami and stuff. Like these guys played for other teams, and Felix and Seeger, they realistically haven't played for anyone else. So I hope they stay around.
Yeah, no, so do I. I mean, Seager's definitely in the conversation when it comes to like your top 10 Mariners of all time. Like I think he's has to be in the top 10. But I
Hmm.
mean, Junior is number one. He's always
Oh
going to be
yeah,
number one. Like
and
nobody's ever going to sniff him. And then it's interesting. Like I'm looking at their all-time top 24 for Baseball Reference. Like, who would you put second? Would it be Ichiro? Would it be King Felix? Would it be Brett Boone? Would it be A-Rod?
no,
Like, but I'm just saying, like these
yeah,
guys are all like on that list. And Jay Buhner, like there are a
Buhner's
lot
a
of
good one. Yeah,
Jay Buhner. I loved him so much when he was a Yankee because he was just a scary looking
you,
dude.
you give me a little bit of the George Costanza's dad there. Jerry Stiller vibes from Seinfeld, where he's like, "Why'd you trade Jerry Buda?" Like the
Yeah, why did I still want an answer? Why
yeah,
did you trade Jay Buhner for Ken Phelps?
yeah, that one. Hey,
One of the
listen,
worst
with
trades ever.
with all the guys the Red Sox traded in the '90s, like
Yeah, I
it could,
understand you have no sympathy. That's great, but we traded Jay Buhner for Ken Phelps, and I was like a rabid 11-year-old Yankees fan at the time. So
but congrats to Kyle Seager. I mean, like you said, just a ball player's ball player. You knew every year you were getting 30 doubles, 20 to 30 home runs, 80 to 95 RBIs, and it was just like you could count on that year in and year out. And I really like guys like that. I've always had a soft spot in my heart for players like that.
I think every team needs a guy like that.
Hmm. Won't be in the Hall of Fame, but just
No, no, no.
real solid ball player.
And that's the thing. Like, let's make sure that everyone who's listening understands. Like, just because you're not in the Hall of Fame or not a legitimate contender for a Hall of Fame, it doesn't mean you were a bad ball player who had a shit career.
Oh God, no.
The Hall of Fame is for the elite of the elite. And then something like that always told me that I've never forgotten, and I think a lot of people do forget. Think back to when you were growing up in high school. Think about the stud athlete, the
Hmm.
star of the team. These guys are all 1,000 times better than that dude. And think about how good he was when
Yeah.
you were in school, and like he has to be 1,000 times better than that guy because there are so few people that get to spend a day, much less a decade, in the major.
Hmm.
Like Kyle Seager's had nothing to be ashamed of, and he made a
Oh no.
shitload of money.
Yeah, I saw he made over $100 million in his career. It's
Yeah,
like,
and then plus taking whatever local endorsements he was getting,
yeah,
like Kyle
which
Seager and his kids, like Seagers are in good shape for a very long time.
yeah, and then
Unless
taking what his
Corey
brother
Seager
just
goes
signed.
on like a lunatic shopping
Yeah.
spree in like Tijuana one night. Now that he's in Texas.
Hey boys, let's go down to Tijuana. Let's
I'm
let's see
just
what's
brought
going on
up
there.
million donkeys for 25 trillion pesos. I don't know how much that is. That's your entire contract, Corey.
Corey, that's $325 million.
Yeah.
But congrats to him. Like I said, hell of a career, hell of a ball player. But let's get into the content, because I'm curious what your moments are going to be, because I feel like we might have looked at this a little differently.
I guarantee you we looked at this differently. I think I know where you're going, and I don't think you have a clue where I'm at.
I have no clue what you're about to say for this. Absolutely not. I don't know if it's just going to be like, yeah, that one time in July when Aaron Judge hit a home run, that was cool.
Yeah, that one time at fan camp, that's what we're going to get into now.
Yeah.
No.
So, yeah, just out of curiosity, I want you to go first. That's
fine. I mean, I'm going to go with one of the obvious ones. I don't know if it made your list or not, but Miguel Cabrera hitting his 500th home run. It was long overdue. I mean, you're talking about one of the best hitters any of us have ever seen in person.
Mm-hmm.
And the run he had, I mean, can we just talk about how ridiculous the run he had was for a second? There was nobody. Like, you know how good everyone says, oh, Mike Trout's this great. Cabrera was that great. Like, Cabrera was Trout before Trout was even a thought.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so good to finally see him get it, because for a while there, I think
looked like it wouldn't happen.
Like, yeah, I know you're signed for like another decade, but Miggy, I don't know. I'm not feeling it this year, Miggy. So it was nice to see him get it. Here's my question to you: how does he get to 550?
No,
he's at 502.
No.
Okay, I don't think he does either.
If you would have asked me in 2013 how many home runs does Miguel Cabrera finish with, I would have said 640. Like,
I think everybody would have at that point.
It was just, that was the type of pace he was on. And, oh man, like you said, like that run he had, he won the Triple Crown and back-to-back MVPs, and he's hitting 340 with 40 home runs. Miguel Cabrera is, I put him by the second, or I'd say the third best right-handed hitter I've ever seen. And that's just because I think Manny Ramirez, steroids or not, was just such an incredible hitter. And like the hand-eye coordination, the eye at the plate, everything was there for Manny. Where it's just like, I can't say anyone was better than him at the art of hitting a baseball.
Right.
And then it's Albert Pujols.
Yes, that's fair. I mean, I can't argue with you as far as the natural ability Manny had, but I can't give him the props, because I look at him the way I look at A-Rod, which is I have no idea when you started using, so I don't know what to believe.
That's fair. There's just, like, that's the one thing that, like, I'm like, yeah, steroids can't add to this. Like, your ability to go up there and hit a baseball and just, like, be the best at that. I have never seen anyone with the combination of plate discipline, power, and hand-eye coordination that Manny had.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's entirely fair. I have too many questions, so I just won't give him credit. And that's just because I guess I'm being a dick.
But yeah, I mean, Miguel Cabrera is just one of the best hitters I've ever seen. And I was so happy when he got to 500, because there was a while there where I was like, oh man, he's going to fall short, isn't he?
Yeah, it sure felt like it.
Yeah. But yeah, that is a great moment. That one that was like number 4 for me. That one just barely missed my list.
Okay, well then let's see what did make your list.
Trey Mancini playing baseball, man. It was the shit he had to go through, and he had cancer, and it was just this entire long process for him to get back. Then he was good. Like, I know he sort of fell off in the second half of the season, but he was having a tremendous year at the All-Star break. It's not like this guy just played again and they're like, oh, give him comeback player of the year because he hit 180, but he made the comeback. No, he was really good for half the season. And it was like, this is the Trey Mancini that I wanted to be here, because I think that guy's a hell of a ball player.
That Trey Mancini is a perennial all-star.
Yeah. Um, but it was just so good to see him back. I was so happy when I found out that he was planning on coming back and that he was healthy enough to play. And just the fact that he even put up numbers, he had a hell of a performance in the home run derby. Like, I know we lost to Pete Alonso, but how many guys can beat that guy in a home run derby?
Yeah, like that's nothing
Um,
to be ashamed of.
no. But he put on a great performance in that, and it was so cool to see him at the derby and during the All-Star game. Like, so that's my favorite thing of the year is just the fact that he was able to play baseball again. Love Trey Mancini.
Yeah, no, he made my list too. I didn't rank these or anything, so
Hmm.
I mean, if I did, yeah, that would be at the top of my list because the
Yeah.
dude beat cancer. That's it. End of story. Let's move on. Beat cancer, came back, had a productive season for the worst team in baseball,
Hmm.
and was actually talked about like, hey, he kind of got snubbed at the All-Star break, and maybe should have gotten more consideration than we actually gave him. That conversation went on for like half a day on Twitter.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, anyone who doesn't think Trey Mancini belongs on this list, just buy like there's
Yeah,
something wrong
exactly.
with you. The
All
dude
right, what
beat
else?
cancer. That's it.
Yeah, what else you got?
Yeah, like seriously, that's.
Hmm.
Oh, what else do I have?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Now I get a little weird.
Okay.
This didn't happen on the field. This happened off the field,
I have one thing that happened off the field as well,
and
but
this was kind of like there were a couple of things that went on with this team that I could have picked,
hmm
but this one seemed the most bizarre. And this was Francisco Lindor and Jeff McNeil arguing about was that a rat or was that a raccoon? The dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life, and it's so stupid. It has to be true because I don't think in a million years either Lindor, I don't think either of them could have. If you gave them like their contracts in cash, they wouldn't be able to come up with that story on the spot. Like it's too bizarre to not be true. But yeah, we were debating whether it was a raccoon or a rat.
now I've spent some time in the city and in that area of New York. It's not a ton, but I've been down there a few times. Is that an actual argument people can have? I know I've
In Manhattan, absolutely. I've seen rats that I thought were cats.
okay because I've always like heard that. Obviously, it's like, oh yeah, the rats down here are bigger than anywhere else, and it's like, yeah, but what's a big rat? It's a
But
rats are a rather small creature.
if I woke up tomorrow and like the front page of the newspaper said giant rats smash buildings in Manhattan, like I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be like, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
that happened for sure.
I'm just picturing. I'm a big fan of the old school Godzilla movies.
Oh yeah, oh like I'm thinking like the old school like Rampage video game.
Yeah. Oh
Where
yeah.
like
Or
where like King
Rampage.
Kong,
Yeah.
you climb the building and
Hmm.
punch it. Like if you told me that a rat was doing that in the middle of
Yeah.
Manhattan, I'd be like, oh, totally plausible.
Oh
Like
yeah. They
the rats eat better than the people in the city.
oh they got the Empire State Building. That kind of sucks, but
Yeah, is
it had
that
it coming.
Godzilla? No, it's just a rat.
Um. But yeah, that was oh my god, it was so funny. The like 3 days where that was all Twitter was talking about was so freaking funny.
Yeah, I mean it was so bizarre, and I guess I have to mention the honorable mention being the Javi Baez and Lindor douchebaggery with the fans.
Yep.
Interesting that Lindor is in both of these. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not making any accusations. Just saying he's
If
in the two most bizarre things that I've seen happen this
yeah,
past baseball season with the New
if
York Mets, who, whether I want to or not, I have to hear about every single day.
if Lindor flips off a fan this year, how long does Bucks bench him?
Oh, well, he's getting pulled from that game and sitting the game after for
I
sure.
I was gonna say 2 3 games, like just automatic
At
benching.
least that game and the next game,
Yeah.
and then we'll see how pissed off Buck is.
Hmm.
But it's interesting because like old school Buck, like God, dude, be gone for a week, and he'd be
Yeah.
screaming at the GM like, trade this guy. I don't want him in
Hmm.
my clubhouse. He claims to be different Buck. He claims that he's learned things. So we don't know which Buck we're getting, but I can't imagine he put up with that.
Do you think he's learned when your best relief pitcher is warming up in the bullpen, you should use him in a playoff game?
God, I hope so. I really, really hope so. Although, to his credit, the next day he walked in and apologized to the entire team.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I fucked up. My bad. I can't explain it. There's no, that's on me. I fucked up. I completely forgot we had one of the best relievers in all of the game just sitting there drooling and foaming at the mouth to get in the game.
I love Buck Showalter. I think he's a great manager. That's one of the all-time manager fuck-ups, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean,
he left, I believe it was Ubaldo Jimenez.
Yeah.
Who gave up the home run to Encarnacion.
Yeah. Ubaldo, I'm giving Bartolo a run for his money, Jimenez was on the mound.
Oh, man. I remember watching that game with my dad, and we're both like, "But Britton's in the bullpen."
I didn't believe it. I was like, I'm like, something's wrong with the feed. This is like a video of something.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no way this is live. Mm-hmm. And then I waited until the next day because I was like, there's no way.
There's no way he left Britton in the bullpen.
I looked the next day at the box score, and I'm just like, Jesus, he really did forget.
So next moment for me, I'll go with an off the field one as well. It's not as bizarre, but because nothing's as bizarre as the rat-raccoon debate. It's the field that is my background. Just the fact that they built the Field of Dreams field, and they were like, "We're gonna play a game here." That's so cool to me. I know you're not the world's biggest fan of Field of Dreams.
Right.
And it's not in my top 3 baseball movies, so like I still think of it highly, but it's not like an all-timer for me. I just loved the idea that, like, because the one thing that movie gets completely right, in my opinion, is the romance of baseball.
Absolutely.
You've got the James Earl Jones speech, which I forgot to mention. I forgot to put in. There's an intro to this podcast on like the audio feed.
Okay.
That I put together. It's like a 1.5-minute intro, and it starts with the James Earl Jones baseball speech from Field of Dreams.
Very nice. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, my name is on the podcast, and I have no idea what's actually on it.
Well, yeah, I realized I never like even asked if you wanted to listen to it. It's got like the Field of Dreams speech. It's got Tom Brenneman's apology.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah,
that's good. It sounds good. You got James Earl Jones in it. I'm sold. Next, that guy could read my grocery list, and I'd be enthralled.
Absolutely. But that movie got the romance of baseball right, and I am a big baseball is romantic guy. Like I buy into all of that stuff. I've cried way too many times during baseball games, if we're being honest. And just everything they did. Obviously, the game was phenomenal, and I thought about just mentioning the game. The game was excellent, but everything surrounding the game, the pregame where the guys are walking out of the corn onto the field, everything about it, I was just like, this is it. This is the best baseball game I'll ever watch, and I don't need to watch baseball the rest of the year because this is the peak.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't go as far as to say it was the best I've ever watched, but it was phenomenal. It was brilliant. It was the best thing MLB has done in a very long time. I hope that we get to see it again this year. It'd be nice.
It would be very nice.
Hint, hint, labor unions and ownership. Like maybe speak the day, how about Saturday? You guys should be free.
Yeah, you got
nothing going on Saturday. Yeah. Maybe pick up the phone, wish each other Happy New Year and get going. But yeah, it was great. It wasn't one of the moments I picked, but I mean, certainly up there. It would have, if we had done like a top 10, it would have been in my list.
Mm-hmm.
My next one, and actually I just added a fourth because I can't decide between these two.
That's
To
fair.
keep it at three. My next one, Daniel Camarena. What does that name scream to you?
Or wait,
Does
no,
it
that
scream
was
anything to you?
yes. I remember he was the Padres pitcher who hit a grand slam, right?
Correctamundo.
Yes. For a
Not only
second,
did
I
he hit a
was
grand
thinking the
slam,
yeah.
he's from San Diego.
Hmm.
His family's in the crowd. Not only did he hit a grand slam after 10 years in the minors, he hit it off of Max freaking Scherzer.
Yep.
And as he crosses home plate, Manny Machado is there with the chain, with the spinner, and Camarena got to parade through the dugout and take his curtain call wearing it. Like,
So cool.
that was just so cool. Like, honestly, like, if you've never watched baseball and that was the first thing you saw, you'd be hooked.
Oh
'Cause
yeah.
this is great. Like, I don't know who any of these people are, but the crowd's losing their minds, and this guy's running around with a giant gold chain. He looks like he's trying to, it's Halloween, and he's dressed up as like a weird version of Flavor Flav.
Exactly.
Like it was just so good. Oh, so good. So that was my number three, and then I've decided to add a number four. So we'll get back to that.
Yeah. For a second, because I was like, wait, pitcher in the NL West. I was thinking Tyler Gilbert, the guy who threw a no hitter in his first start for the
I was
Diamondbacks.
close. That was
That's a
close.
great one too.
Yeah.
Like I think he was the fourth pitcher to ever do it. Like that's just awesome.
Yeah, I think it was four.
But my third one is, and this is another off the field moment, and it sort of encapsulates the entire season. It's just Shohei Ohtani winning MVP and being Shohei Ohtani. I mean, 46 home runs, 130 innings with 150 something strikeouts and a 3.18 ERA, I think it was. This guy is unbelievable. And it's everything that we've been hearing about since he came over from Japan. And we saw glimpses of it as a rookie, but it was like he was getting hurt and we didn't know if he was ever going to be able to stay fully healthy to be able to put together this type of season. And he did it this year. And it's the most magnificent thing to watch in baseball. It's just this guy that hits absolute tanks, throws 100 miles an hour, can steal you 20 bags because he's that quick and athletic. Like, just everything about him, I love it so much. And when he won MVP, I was like a happy child. Like, he just got a Christmas present. I was like, oh, yes, Ohtani won MVP. I thought Vlad was going to take it there for a little bit. I'm glad it went to Ohtani. I love this guy. If I could give health to one player in baseball for the next 10 years, it would be Shohei Ohtani in a heartbeat. Just give me 10 years of this guy being healthy and being the most amazing player I've ever seen on a baseball field.
Yeah, I don't know if he can keep this up.
I don't know either, but man, when he's going, it's so fun.
Oh, look, what he did was phenomenal, and Babe Ruth was the last guy that pulled something off like that.
And it wasn't even this good.
Well, on the pitching side, it wasn't this good, no.
But, he had never done both that much in the same year. Like, he had never had the 40 home runs and the 140 innings pitched.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm saying the closest we've seen was Babe Ruth, and that's almost 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's maybe a smidgen of the people on this earth that have seen both. It's crazy when you think of it like that. Like, it's been almost 100 years since somebody's pulled this off. Ohtani, you could have just said Ohtani. And
I did
have to
think about
explain
just saying
anything.
Ohtani.
And that would have everyone would have known exactly what you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Just his entire season being that amazing. My last one, and this kind of ties in. You were talking about the romance of baseball with the Field of Dreams stuff. I'm talking about the passion and the fire of baseball. And this is Game 2 of the season for the Cincinnati Reds. Nick Castellanos on a wild pitch comes home and then jumps up and just destroys. I believe it was John Woodward of the Cardinals who was covering home plate.
I think so, yeah.
Just he flexes and he looks down at him as he's on the ground and he's screaming at him. And then the next thing you know, in comes Yadi Molina with a flying elbow off the top rope, right into Castellanos' cheek. And I thought it was Castellanos had the best answer after it when they were like, "Well, what did you think when Yachty came, got in your face?" He's like, "That dude could have punched me in the face, and I still would have asked him for an autographed jersey after the game."
Yeah.
He's like, "I didn't mean anything by it." He's like, "I was just fired up." Like, yeah, I hit a home run yesterday on opening day. They hit me today. And then I score on a wild pitch. So, yeah, I'm gonna let the guy know about it. Especially because, and I had forgotten about this until I looked back at it, because I wanted to make sure I had everything right. That he had actually, after he got hit, he picked the ball up and offered to throw it back to Woodward.
Yeah.
And he ignored him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Castellanos was like, "All right, screw this." He threw the ball into the stands and took the base. But that was just kind of a fuck you to the guy.
Yeah.
Being like, you didn't have to hit me, and then you could have at least taken the ball back. Don't be a dick. Yeah, and I think they were up. I think that gave them a 9-1 lead, and they wound up winning 11-6. So it kind of worked against the Reds. St. Louis started to come back, and we all know how the end of the season went. The Cardinals surged, and the Reds are now a AAA team as they continue to look to sell everybody that makes any money off.
I watch too much Reds baseball just because I know in any game there's a chance that a benches clearing brawl will ensue, because that team loves to fight.
That team just doesn't care.
No. I'm thinking, remember, was it last year or 2 years ago when Puig was on the Reds and they got into that massive brawl with the Pirates, and Yasiel Puig wanted to kill every single person on the Pittsburgh Pirates?
And Yasiel Puig probably could have killed everyone on the Pirates.
I don't know why you said probably.
Okay, yeah, he could. He would have.
But there's that great picture of four or five Reds trying to hold Puig back as the entire Pirates roster storms at him. I love watching the Reds just because it's someone could get hit this game, and if someone gets hit, there are going to be punches thrown.
Yeah, the Reds have always been my other team. And this goes back to when I was a kid with Barry Larkin. I always loved Barry Larkin. I loved Eric Davis. Eric, talk about a player
that guy was so good.
Talk about a guy that you would have wished a decade of health on.
Oh, man.
I mean, for anyone that doesn't know anything about Eric Davis, do yourself a favor this weekend. Pull up YouTube, type in Eric Davis Reds highlights, and just enjoy. Get some popcorn and enjoy. Because you're going to watch this and be like, how have I never heard of this guy before?
The guy was Mike Trout.
Oh, yeah, no, 1,000%. I mean, he was a 5-tool player with 8 tools, but they only said he had 5 because they didn't know how to describe everything else he could do on the baseball field. But, of course, he got hurt, and he was never quite the same. But, I mean, talk about a guy who could have gone 40-40 or 50-50, year after year after year when he was in his prime. I mean, plus winning Gold Gloves, winning MVP, he could do everything better than you. He should have been so good. Those teams should have been so good.
Yeah, he's one of those guys where, it's you give this guy a career of health, and we're talking, it's Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, Eric Davis are the 3 greatest baseball players of all time.
Those 3, and even if you just want to keep the center field. So, Eric Davis, Mantle, the guy, Willie Mays, Jr.,
Trout.
Yeah, 5. Those are your 5. Figure it out how you rank them. That, he should have been in that conversation. He was that good.
I do have one that you made me think of when you brought up the rat-raccoon thing.
Okay.
And this happened during the off season. Just the about month and a half of incompetence from the Mets front office was so frickin' funny to me.
Hey, you want to go out tonight? Click.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, they requested to interview Billy Bean. The A's said yes, but Bean said no. Like, just shit like that. It was every day there was a new rejection from someone not wanting to work for the New York Mets. And it was like the funniest span I've ever seen on Twitter because you had Mets fans freaking out. They're just going, our team is a dumpster fire. Who knows what the hell is going on? Maybe Steve Cohen wasn't the guy, and just every other fan base laughing at Mets fans. It was so much fun.
I mean, and Billy Epler must feel like, okay, it's cool that you wanted me, but
Did they? I mean, they went through 48 choices before
yeah,
they got to
exactly.
him.
Like
I don't think they wanted him at all.
I barely made your top 50. Like, really? Like, huh?
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
that was kind of cringeworthy at points where you couldn't help but laugh, but you couldn't help but feel really bad for him at the same time. Because it was like that kid in high school that, like, everyone knew was kind of just like awkward and weird, and girls weren't really, they didn't think he was ugly, but they didn't know what to do with him. And like he'd ask like 17 girls to the prom, and then like the day of the prom he'd show up with somebody nobody's ever seen before, and it turns out to be like his third cousin twice removed,
Yep.
who goes to like a high school a half hour away.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what it feels like with the Mets at that point. Wasn't there a guy? I'm blocking on who it was and what he did. He did something with the Pirates. He was like a coach. Or whatever, and it was like one of the national guys reported, the Mets requested to interview so and so, and it's just like nobody's called me. Like I own like a hot dog stand, and I'm happy.
Yeah.
Like I have no interest, but nobody's called. So what? Leave me alone. Come buy a car or a hot dog or whatever it is that he's selling.
My favorite one was the assistant general manager to the Baltimore Orioles said no.
Look, the Orioles are as inept as the Mets, so like the guy could be a genius and nobody would have a clue.
Yeah, and but when I see something like that, it's like, yeah, the Mets wanted to interview the assistant GM for the Baltimore Orioles, and he said no. He's like, no, I'll take my job with this awful organization instead of being your general manager.
To be fair, he may figure he has job security in Baltimore because ownership doesn't care. So
that's true.
Like he could just not even show up to work as long as he's getting paid. What does he care?
But it was just the funniest few weeks. Every single day there was something.
It was a couple of months. It wasn't just a few weeks. That lasted for a while.
Yeah, but there was like a 3-week span where it seemed like it was happening every day.
Every day. Yeah, there was.
Yeah,
you're right. That 3-week span for sure. But because I never knew it was happening.
But yeah, it happened for quite a while, and then they almost had the same problem with manager. Like it wasn't as bad. And they got Buck Showalter, so it's like, okay, this worked out.
Can you imagine what would have happened if they would have hired like Matt Quattaro instead of Buck?
Oh man, people would have went.
They would have burnt Citi Field to the ground. Like they totally would have rioted. Like the Mets fans, if there are any left in New York, like they would have rioted.
It was my favorite. It was one of my favorite things.
That was great. That was great.
I think it's just because I've known a lot of Mets fans that have been somewhat insufferable at various points in my life. And so when I see stuff like that happening, I'm like, you deserve this. Just you. I've just met so many Mets fans. And it's not even like their fandom was insufferable. I just didn't think they were good people. And so I was like thinking of them. I was like, yeah. You deserve this, you scumbag.
Wow. Wow. That's a little harsh there, Mark. A little harsh. I don't like the way you cheer for your favorite team, so screw you.
I tend to. Well, no, like I said, it wasn't their fandom. It was just they were like, I just didn't think they were a very good person.
Right, but if you didn't know that they were Mets fans, would that have changed it?
Well, yeah, because then I wouldn't have associated.
There you go.
It with
so yeah, It's totally because of their fandom.
Uh,
It's only because they were Mets fans and they were arrogant and loudmouthed and stupid, and you were just like, yeah, you're a bad person. And look, I probably would have come to the same conclusion, so I'm not judging you here.
mhm.
But I do that with Yankees fans, and I'm a Yankee
I was
fan.
I was gonna say I've done that with plenty of Red Sox and Eagles
Like,
fans. Where it's
go to Yankee Stadium, and it's just like, no, 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 no. All right, that guy's all right, but the rest of that section, you get them out of here. Because
my
they're just not good people. Like, I don't want them hanging out at my car after the game.
I was I was in Cooperstown with my dad, and we were at this place called Cooley's, a little Irish bar in Cooperstown. My best place to go in Cooperstown. They've got good food, the coldest beer you've ever had, just like. And it was during the Astros Yankees playoff series in 2017.
Oh, yeah, when we got cheated.
Yes. Which it turns out that this guy was actually right at the time, but it was 2017, so no one knew. And Altuve had just hit a home run, and this guy's screaming, yelling, "That guy's a fucking cheater! He's on steroids! How can anyone that fucking small hit a home run?" Like he's just screaming. My dad just yells, "Shut up!" And my dad's got a San Francisco Giants thing on because my dad's a big Giants fan.
Right.
And the guy walks up to him. You know, he's got like a Derek Jeter jersey on, like a sideways Yankees hat, just this scumbag Yankees fan, like the ones you were talking about at Yankee Stadium. And he like walks up to my dad, like pokes him in the shirt. He's like, "You're a fucking Giants fan. What the fuck do you have to talk about?" And my dad just looked at him and said, "3 more World Series than you do since the last time the Yankees won one." And
Is
the
he-
guy,
Go ahead, finish, sorry.
well, I was gonna say, and the guy just fucking started freaking out. He's like, "We've got fucking 27 rings." And as soon as I heard the 27 rings thing, I was like, "Oh, here we go." We've got 27 fucking rings. He like pushed my dad, and I had to get between my dad and this Yankees fan in Cooperstown over the San Francisco Giants. Like there's so like I've met so many Yankees fans like that, and I've met so many Red Sox and Eagles fans. Eagles fans are the worst fans in sports. Like,
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. 1,000%. Yes,
Eagles
they
fans
are.
throw batteries at people.
Eagles fans tried to kill Santa Claus
Exactly.
on national television. They literally tried to murder Santa. Like, you don't need to know anything else. But look, if you're a fan and you get into friendly argument, whatever, not a so friendly argument about sports, about your favorite team, and your first reaction or third reaction or 900th reaction is, I'm going to go walk up to this guy and poke his chest and get in his face, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah. And like him and my dad like made up later because his like friends came over and they're like, "We swear to God he's not usually like this.
Yeah, like
he's very drunk."
When
Like,
I was younger, like, I was never that guy, but like, I was like, all right, like, let's see what happens. I'll stand over here. Like, now if I see it, like, I have no patience for it.
yeah.
And it's not like I'm ancient, people. I'm not ancient. I know I look old. I know because I didn't shave since Christmas. Sue me. But Christmas Eve, I shaved for my birthday. That was it.
Yep.
After that, I was just like, gonna see what happens. New Year's Day, I'll shave again. So this is about a week. So yeah, there's gray. Guess what? It happens when you hit your 40s.
Dude, I have gray hair. Like, I have noticeable gray hair in my head.
Yeah, there's a reason I wear a
22.
full cap on these things. It ain't because my apartment's cold. And no, I'm not bald. I got hair up here, but not enough.
Balding and bald are two different things.
Look, my dad's bald. It's coming. It's just a matter of time. So thank you again, Dad, one of your wonderful, wonderful gifts that you've bestowed upon me, your only son. So thank you very much. Although I will say it's probably better that I got the facial hair thing and the receding hairline thing better than my sister. If she had facial hair and a receding hairline, I'd be very, very concerned and probably not be doing this podcast.
I trust me, I do not have the facial hair thing.
No, I don't think I've ever seen you with facial hair.
No, and the thing is, like, that's a problem because I'll go like 3 weeks without shaving, and it's like, oh, I have like a high school mustache. Very cool.
Oh
I
yeah, no, like
cannot grow facial hair.
if I don't shave before next week when we do this again, like there'll be a little bit of length here. Like I grow like I'm a fucking wolf man. But only here, only on the face, not up here, not down here. It's just right here.
I'd rather have it here. Like,
Oh yeah,
well,
look, this is much better than having like a rug on my back.
yeah,
Thankfully, I don't have that problem.
yeah. It's just like, yeah, I'll go a month
All right,
and people are like,
we have gone completely off the fucking rails, talking about back hair and werewolves and.
buddy, I've been podcasting long enough to know that this is where the real content is. It's in the tangents.
Oh yeah, no, these are the hidden gems that we can't put in the descriptions or the titles because we're insane and have no idea where this is going from the time Mark hits record.
Exactly.
Even though we have to wait like 20 seconds to actually know when the show's started recording because technology hates us.
That's why I just keep talking because I'm like, this is all going to be the cold open. I was listening to a basketball podcast earlier today that spent 45 minutes on Ichiro. Like,
yeah, no, I get it. I get it. There's one basketball podcast that I listen to, and I don't think I've heard them talk about basketball.
Yeah.
I'm like 4 episodes in, and like it's a friend of mine who he's been like, oh, you got to listen to it. So I finally was like, all right, fine, I'm going to listen to it, and I haven't heard one thing about basketball aside from like their intro, where it's like, yeah, we're going to talk all about the NBA and blah 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 blah. But hey, did you see this Monopoly game that came out? And it's like, what? Yeah, the McRib's back at McDonald's. Like, what? What? Where am I? What am I listening to?
Time, man. Those are the type of podcasts that the people like. The ones that have nothing to do with their actual topic.
And look, this says what's in the box score. This is what's in the box score, people.
It's everything.
Yeah, like this. We did not say this was a baseball podcast, even though you may have been led to believe that by the audio intro that we have that I just found out about about 20 minutes ago.
That I initially introduced this show as a baseball show. I did say that.
It was pitched to. It may have been pitched to me as a baseball show.
Yes.
But you know what, Paul? You listening, Paul? You do what we want. This is my show.
This is
not your show anymore. It's mine. This isn't Thursday mornings at 11:30.
When we get you back on the show, I'm just gonna start asking you about totally non-baseball things.
And Paul I can't wait. I will bet you on how quickly it takes for Paul to physically pick you up and throw you out of the studio.
Listen, I love Paul. He's a pretty built guy, does various forms of martial arts, so I'm not doubting that he couldn't throw me. I don't know if the picking me up thing would happen.
You will be airborne, whether it's by him picking you up or by a roundhouse kick.
That'll be it. He'll roundhouse kick me in the face, no doubt.
Yes, and for those who are wondering who the hell are they talking about,
this is
Paul Boygreen Esden, Mark's co-host on it's actually a tri-host.
Well, he's actually my boss. I'm just an intern, man.
But at this point, you're like the third host.
Yeah, I'm on 5 days or 4 days a week. So
right, it's the Man-Child show.
Yeah, and he also runs this podcast network. So if you're listening to this and don't know, we are on Sports War Radio. This is
Sports World Radio. We should have mentioned that before, Mark.
Listen, Paul said it was fine if I never mentioned it. I'm going to try to mention it, but he said it's fine.
Well, I'm going to mention it because I like Paul and I like Sports World and I like all of you.
It's Sports War.
I will say whatever it is. I'm making it up. It's my show. There are no rules. Names do not matter. Sports War. Thanks, Paul. Could have told me that.
This is
about as unprofessional as you can possibly find. I mean,
this is the Whose Line Is It Anyway of podcasts.
I hope this is the episode that he shows to our potential sponsor and is just like, hey, This is what we can put your name on. How about that? And
Listen,
then-
I could talk about many things.
We're not talking about anything until things are done. Because I still, year after year, it's not we're going to end on this, your New Year's resolution. My New Year's resolution is to stick with the same resolution I've had every year, which is if I don't talk about it, it can't not happen. Like, if I talk about it, it's definitely not going to happen.
Yep.
So if I don't talk about it, it probably won't happen. But it might. Like, there's a chance. If I throw these things out into the universe, they never happen. Because the universe is just like, ooh, that's a meatball. That's a 25 miles an hour curveball. Thank you so much as I hit this to the fucking moon.
Is that Jeff Weaver? Is that a pitch from Jeff Weaver that I can hit 800 feet?
Look, it might as well be sitting on a tee for Aaron Judge. Okay, like, it's ridiculous. It never happens when I put these things out into the universe. Everyone says, put it out into the universe. Yeah, it's the only thing you can make these things manifest.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm here to tell you, bullshit. Go manifest this. Don't say shit. Just talk to yourself. Talk to whoever you talk to up there. Or if you talk to somebody down there, talk to the guy down there. But talk to them in your own time. Don't put it out for everyone else to digest, because then you're screwed, and it's probably going to hit you in the face coming off the bat at 1,000 miles an hour.
I mean, I can, as someone who's been trying to predict various things on some sort of radio, podcast, whatever, live broadcast program for a number of years now, I don't know if I've ever gotten a single prediction right.
I've gotten one prediction right in the past decade, and that's it. I'm done. Good. Prediction, not my thing. I'm definitely not a psychic. I am definitely don't have a crystal ball. Maybe that's my problem. Maybe I should have a crystal ball.
It would certainly help. I'm going to be honest, I haven't made a New Year's resolution in probably 6 or 7 years. I would say, get a paying job in sports media.
There you go.
Like,
that works.
Just this year I want to get a paying job in sports media. That's all I'm going to set the bar at. If I don't meet that by the end of 2022, it's time to find a new profession.
Yeah, you're young enough. You can always pivot. I've pivoted multiple times in my career. So it's one of the things. If you're versatile and you learn how to do a bunch of different stuff, you'll find something somewhere.
Yeah.
If you pigeonhole yourself into one spot, one thing, you're screwed if and when that goes away.
That's the way I've always approached doing content.
And especially in sports media, because there's 1,000 legitimate paying jobs, and the rest of them are just people like us talking into the wind and seeing what happens. But yeah.
Hey, those interaction numbers are starting to go up. We had someone respond to one of our tweets. That was cool.
Oh yeah, I saw that tonight. I was like, huh? And I was like, oh yeah.
It's a slow start. Yeah, it's a slow start.
I was not expecting to be the number one podcast on iTunes 4 episodes in.
Yeah.
I won't be expecting to be the number one podcast on iTunes 4,000 episodes in. Like, that's never an expectation. If I'm having fun, I don't care who listens to it.
That's always been my thing. I had a movie podcast for a while, which I want to bring back, and I think maybe 8 total people listened to it. But I was like, listen, this is just me complaining about movies I don't like for the most of it, and that's something I need to do often, because I watch way too many movies, and I don't care who listens to it, because it's me talking with my friends about movies. Like,
it works, you know? If you got something to say, say it. And if anyone else listens, great. If they don't listen, great.
And if you're listening to this, look out for the new episode of the C-Listers coming out in a couple weeks, where I talk about my top 10 favorite movies of the year.
And if you're listening to this, the Family Guy Marathon continues on FXX until tomorrow night. Tomorrow night at midnight, I think.
Oh, they're doing a Family Guy Marathon?
Oh, yeah. Every episode. They've done, I think it's 18 seasons. I think they're up to 16.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I had no idea. I would have been watching that. I always watch I always watch the Simpsons marathons.
So do I. And I
yeah.
was looking for the Simpsons marathon and was like, oh, there's a Family Guy marathon on. I'll just keep my TV on this channel for the next week.
Mm-hmm.
And I've obviously switched a few times because, A, there are some bad episodes, and B, you can only take so much of it.
Oh, yeah.
But for the most part, it's been straight Family Guy for about a week.
Oh, pretty good.
Just on in the background, not really paying attention to it unless it's an episode that I really, really love.
Such a great background show.
Most TV is a great background show. Unless it's sports, most TV is a great background show.
Yeah, but there are some I feel like the need to pay attention. Family Guy, it's like I'll hear the funny
you
joke.
Sit there and watch.
Yeah.
You know, but the Family Guy, Simpsons, Married with Children, American Idol, if you're into that thing, you don't need to watch.
I used to be a big American Idol guy.
Oh, so do I. I actually was laid up on the couch at my parents' house because I had just broken my leg and my ankle.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just couldn't move and needed to take a painkiller every 4 hours. And my mom was like, oh, you're in the living room. We're going to watch this. And I was like, okay. And I was just like, oh, wow, this is actually kind of enjoyable. It was season 1.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched the first 4 or 5 seasons, and then I was like, all right, Ma, this sucks.
Yeah.
I wasn't living at home at that point, obviously, but, we'd call each other on the phone and talk about it. Like, Ma, I can't do it anymore. These people are just no good. I don't like any of them.
Yeah, I stopped watching,
Whichever one.
10, probably.
Daughtry? Was that his name? Daughtry?
Chris Daughtry, yeah.
Whatever one he was on, that was the last one I watched.
I think that was season 8. It's bad that I know that.
Yeah, it's really bad. You know that.
Like I said, I used to be a big American Idol. Taylor Hicks, that guy was incredible.
Taylor Hicks had a great voice, but he was just that look. There was no way.
Oh, absolutely not.
No.
But
you can't look like Hillbilly Jim's cousin on meth and expect to get a big record deal.
But man, that guy could sing some Joe Cocker. I'll tell you that much.
Dude had a great voice. Most people on that show had a great voice. Yeah. Most people.
All right. Well, that's enough American Idol talk.
That's enough. Period.
We said this was going to be a short episode. We're at 58 minutes.
That's it. Let's keep it under an hour. Under an hour. Let's go.
All right. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. This has been episode 4 of What's in the Box Score. That guy over there, Rick Wiener. Tune in next week where we have no idea what we're going to talk about next week.
But it will be something worthwhile for you to tune into. And Happy New Year, everyone.
Yes.
Be safe, be happy, be healthy. Hang out with your family, hang out with your friends. And we will see you next week.
We will see you next week. Happy New Year. Peace out.